So hello, starting with today's lecture. In previous lecture, we study the considerations for selection of potency of drug. In this, we see the different points which are responsible for the selection of potency of drug. In this, we studied first one, that is the susceptibility of the patient. Second, the seat of the disease. Third, the nature and the intensity of the disease. Fourth one, the stage and the duration of the disease. And fifth one, the previous treatment of the disease. So in this, the main important point, that is the susceptibility of the patient. In this, if the susceptibility is high, we require a high potency, and if susceptibility is low, we require a low potency. So in this, the susceptibility can be modified by different factors. In this, the first one is susceptibility is modified by age. So uh, susceptibility is high in children and young persons who require a high potency, and in old age we found the susceptibility is low, so we require a low potency. Then the susceptibility is modified by constitution and temperament. So in this we studied in which temperament we require a high potency and in which temperament we require a low potency. Then the third factor, that is susceptibility, is modified by habit and temperament. In this we studied the different criteria regarding the habit and temperament of the persons. And the fourth factor, that is susceptibility, is modified by pathological conditions. In this we see if there is deep pathological changes or organ changes in the body, we require a low potency, as there is vital reaction is low of the patient which react to a low potency nicely. But if patient having a functional disturbances or vital reaction is in a good condition that can give a good response, in these cases we require a high potency. So this is regarding the susceptibility modified by different factors. Then we see the second and third point combinedly, that is the seat of the disease and the character and the intensity of the disease. So in this we studied the diseases which are fatal that require low potency, and diseases characterized by the diminished vital reactions also require a low potency. But while diseases characterized by increased vital reaction that responds to a better higher potency. In short, the higher the susceptibility, higher the potency. Then we study the next point, that is stage and duration of the disease. In this we studied, that is at early stages of disease we require a high potencies, but as the disease progresses towards the last stage or a collapse stage of condition, in that cases we require a low potency and the frequent repetition. But if the disease in a previous stages or in early stage, in these cases we require medium to high potencies. Then the last point we consider, that is the previous treatment of the disease, and in this we studied as in some cases due to abuse of too many drugs in crude doses, the patient seems to lose all susceptibility for the time being. In such conditions, it is advisable to cease all medications for a few days and carefully regulate diet and regimen. Then medication may be started again according to the other factors, either a low or a medium potency. So this is regarding the previous treatment of the disease. So these are the different factors which are responsible for the selection of the potency of a drug. So this part we studied in previous lecture. So today we are starting with the topic, that is dose, potency, remedy and prognosis. So in this, a homeopathic dose means the particular preparation of medicine used, the quantity and form of that preparation, as well as the number of administration. So what is the homeopathic dose? So it is a particular preparation of medicine used, the quantity and the form of that preparation, as well as the number of administration, means how the medicine is prepared, then what is the quantity that and form of that preparation, what is the quantity of that medicine and how it is prepared, and the number of administrations. Yes, येतोय का आवाज? आवाज येतोय का? Okay. So this we call it as a homeopathic dose. In short, what homeopathic dose includes potency, quantity, form, and the number of administration of the medicine. So total homeopathic dose we call it as a, it includes the potency of that medicine. Means when we prescribe the any dose to the patient, means a patient comes to us and we prescribe the medicines for that patient. The medicine we prescribe as, that is Naxomica 200, 200, then 3 doses BD, or 3 doses TDS. It may be for 1 day or it may be for a 1 dose for OD for 3 days. So this is the total dose of that medicine. That is, we give the medicine, homeopathic medicine, along with its potency, then quantity and form and number of administration of the medicine. How we prescribe this? So in dose also it may consider a 4 globules, or it may consider 5 globules, according to the physician or the according to the disease condition of the patient. So in short, the total homeopathic dose includes potency, quantity, form, and number of administration of the medicine. Then there are various kinds of doses. So what are the different kinds of doses in this? The first one is the maximum dose. So what is mean by maximum dose? It is the maximum or largest possible quantity of medicine not harmful to human life, which can be taken at a time by an individual. So what is the maximum dose? It is the possible quantity of medicine, that is maximum or the largest possible quantity of medicine not harmful to the human life, which can be taken at a time by an individual. This is the largest quantity, but it is not harmful to the human life, which can be taken at one time. That we call it as a maximum dose. In homeopathy, maximum dose should not be administered for treatment except in case of primary manifestation of psora, psychosis, and syphilis. That is, in homeopathy, we give the patient as a minimum dose and not the maximum dose to avoid the unexpected result of that medicine. So, it can be used in cases of primary manifestation of psora, psychosis, or syphilis. Otherwise, we give the minimum dose to the patient. So this we call it as a maximum dose. Then the second type, that is lethal or the fatal dose. So what is the lethal or the fatal dose? That is also known as a toxicological or a narcotic dose. So it is such amount of dose which can cause death of a living being. So what is the lethal or fatal dose? It is a toxicological or a narcotic dose. It is amount of dose which can cause death of a living being. That is the dose which causes the death, that we call it as a lethal or the fatal dose. Then minimum lethal dose, it is the smallest dose that has been recorded as a fatal to healthy persons. That is the smallest quantity of medicines that can cause the fatal or the death of a person, that called as a minimal lethal dose. Then the booster dose. What is the booster dose? A subsequent dose given to enhance the action of initial dose. So this is the booster dose which enhance the action of the previous dose. Means if we give the medicine, that is we give the medicines, that is Baraitacap, to a patient, and if we have to enhance the action of that medicine, we have to give the maximum quantity of that medicine that enhance the action of the initial dose, that we call it as a booster dose, a subsequent dose given to enhance the action of initial dose. That we call it as a booster dose. Then the next type is fractional or a refractive or a divided dose. So what is the fractional or refractive or a divided dose? So it is the fraction of a full dose which is taken at a short interval. So it is a fraction of a full dose which is taken at a short interval. It means the full dose or a large dose is divided into a number of short doses or a small doses, that we call it as a fractional or a divided doses. Means one dose is divided into number of parts, that we call it as a divided dose, refractive dose, or a fractional dose. So this is one of the type of dose. The next one, that is physiological dose. So what is physiological dose? Physiological dose are those which stimulate the normal physiology and functions of different organs or system of our body. So what is physiological dose? It is a physiological dose. Physiological dose are those which stimulate the normal physiology or functions of different organs or system of our body. That is able to stimulate the physiology of the body, that we call it as a physiological doses. Then next, in this physiological dose, its action is toxic in nature. Its action is exact opposite to that of a curative action, and it is never employed in homeopathic practice of curative purpose. It is injurious to the patient. That is, in homeopathy we cannot apply the physiological doses as it changes the physiology of the healthy human being. So it is also called as, it is toxic in nature. Its action is exactly opposite to that of a curative action. Then it is never employed in homeopathic practice of curative purpose, and it is injurious to patient. That is physiological dose. Then the next type is, that is average dose. So what is average dose? It is the prescriber's adjusted dose according to the requirement of the patient. So average dose means it is the prescriber's adjusted dose. That is, if physician adjusted the dose according to the requirement of patient. If at some patient may require a high dose, at some patient may require a low doses or a minimum doses or a maximum doses. So this is average dose that can be adjusted by the prescriber according to the requirement of the patient. Then single dose, it means the only one dose should be given in a one day. If you prescribe a one dose in a one day, that we call it as a single dose. Then daily dose, it is the total amount of dose that can be given in a day, either as a single dose or the total amount divided into 3 or 4 doses. Daily dose means it is a total amount of dose that can be given as a single dose also, or that can be divided into 3 or 4 doses. But the single dose means in one day give only one dose, but daily dose can be, it is a one dose divided into number of doses or given at a single time, that we call it as a daily dose. Then total dose, that is, it means the total amount to be given in a day which should not be exceeded. So total dose means it is the total amount to be given in a day which should not be exceeded. Means the total day of a dose, that we call it as a total dose. So in this, the main important type, the next, that is minimum dose. That is also explained in aphorism number 279. That is what is mean by minimum dose. So minimum dose, the dose of a homeopathically selected remedy can never be prepared so small that it shall not be stronger than the natural disease and shall not be able to overpower, extinguish and cure it, at least in a part, as long as it is capable of causing some, though but a slight, preponderance of its own symptoms over those of the disease resembling it, slight homeopathic aggravation. So minimum dose, it is a homeopathic dose which we prescribe to the patient, which is slightly higher than the natural disease and which causes a slight homeopathic aggravation in the patient and which annihilate the natural disease from the patient, and patient goes towards the state of cure. So this we call it as a minimum dose. So these are the different types of doses. In this, the main types are, that is maximum dose, minimum dose, lethal dose, then divided doses of fractional doses, or a single dose. These are the some of the important types of doses that can be applied in this. The physiological dose is also important. What is mean by physiological dose? And it is toxic in nature, and in homeopathy we cannot apply the physiological doses. In homeopathy we apply the minimum doses. So reason behind the application of minimum doses. What are the reasons that are behind the application of minimum doses, or why we use the minimum dose in homeopathy? So in this, the disadvantages of using large dose. So what are the disadvantages that causes the large dose? So too large dose of homeopathic medicine is injurious. That is, if we use the large doses of homeopathic medicine, it is also injurious to the health of a patient. So its quantity as well as its homeopathic stimuli will produces an unnecessary impression upon the vital force, which in turn acts upon the most sensitive part of the organism already most seriously affected by the natural disease. So its quantity as well as its homeopathic stimuli will produce yeah, an unnecessary impression upon the vital force, which in turn acts upon the most sensitive part of the organism already most seriously affected by the natural disease. So this causes the more effect than the natural disease, or more severe effect than the natural disease, if we use the large doses in homeopathy. So it does much more injury than equally large dose of allopathic medicines. That is, it can also cause the more injury than an equally large dose of a allopathic medicine. So these are the disadvantages of using a large dose. In this, then the next one, that is advantages of using a minimum dose. What are the advantages? So in this, harm done by the smallest possible dose is so slight that it may be immediately extinguished or repaired by the natural vital powers. Injury arising from the small dose of wrongly selected medicine will be insignificant, and unwanted aggravation can be avoided. So in this, you have to remember what are the disadvantages of using the large dose and what are the advantages of using the minimum dose. So what are the disadvantages of using the large dose? That is, too large doses of homeopathic medicine is also injurious, and it causes a severe effect than the natural disease which is present in the patient, and it does much more injury than equally large dose of allopathic medicine. That allopathic medicine that causes harm to the patient, this this is equally causes by the large doses of homeopathic medicine. So we use the minimum dose in homeopathic. So what are the advantages of using a minimum dose in homeopathy? That is, harm done by the smallest possible dose is so slight that it may be immediately extinguished or repaired by the natural vital powers. That is, the effect that is caused due to the minimum dose, that is less injurious to the patient, and that can be repaired by the natural vital powers. And second one, that is, injury arising from the small dose of a wrongly selected medicine will be insignificant. That is, the injury that is caused by a small medicine, that is insignificant, or that cannot be considered as a injurious to the patient. Then unwanted aggravation can be avoided if we use the minimum dose of medicine. In that cases, we can avoid the unwanted aggravations that causes harm to the patient. So these are the different advantages of minimum doses. So in this, the advantages are also the smallness of dose does not allow the drug to do any organic damage. That is, if we use the small dose, in that cases it does not cause any organic damage of a patient. Then next one, to take the full advantages of finer and finest curative property of the remedies, they should be administered in minimum doses. So when we use the minimum doses, we will take the full advantage of finer and finest curative property of that remedy, and they should be administered in a minimum dose. Then the next advantage is that in order to maintain the similarity of sequences of the disease and drug, minimum dose is suitable. that is in order to maintain the similarity of the sequences of the disease and the drug. As in homeopathy, we prescribe the medicine on the basis of law of similia, that is similia similibus curanter. In this, we match the symptom of the disease to the symptom of drug, and in these cases, the minimum dose is suitable for maintaining the similarity of this disease and the drug. And the concept of minimum doses is verified by the small dose stimulate, medium dose paralyzes, and the large dose kills. So this is the concept of minimum dose, that is small dose stimulate, medium dose paralyzes, and the large dose kills. So these are the different advantages of using the minimum dose. So this may be the questions, that is the minimum dose. So in this you have to prescribe what is mean by minimum dose, where it is prescribed, that is in aphorism number 279. Then what are the disadvantages of large dose and what are the advantages of minimum dose. So you have to remember these advantages of minimum dose, that is harm done by the smallest possible dose is so slight that it is immediately extinguished or repaired by the natural vital powers. Then the second advantage, injury arising from the small dose of wrongly selected medicine will be insignificant. Then unwanted aggravation can be avoided. The next advantage, the smallness of drug doses not allowed the drug to do any organic damage. Then the next advantage, to take the full advantage of finer and finest curative property of the remedies, they should be administered in a minimum dose. Then in order to maintain the similarity of the sequences of the disease and the drug, minimum dose is suitable, and the it can be depend on the concept of minimum dose, that is small dose stimulate, minimum dose paralyzes, and the large dose kills. So this is regarding the minimum dose. So up till now we studied the dose. In this we studied the different types of doses. In this the main important are the maximum dose and the minimum dose. So in this, what are the disadvantages of using the maximum dose and what are the advantages of using the minimum dose. So all of you understand up till now what we studied, that is regarding the dose. Yes, all of you understand? Any difficulty regarding these points? Okay, so we will shift towards the next, that is repetition. So in this, to achieve the rapid cure, three conditions should be satisfied, that is minimum, minimum dose, and the repetition. If you want to achieve the rapid cure in the patient, there are three conditions necessary, that is first one minimum, second minimum dose, and the third one repetition. So what is mean by minimum, that is you have to take the proper case taking of the patient and you have to form the exact portrait of a patient that can be matched with a portrait of a medicine or a remedy, and you have to select the minimum for that disease portrait of the patient. So this is the minimum. Then second one, after selection of a remedy or a minimum, you have to select the dose. So what is the dose, that is you select the proper dose for the patient, that is minimum dose, that we call it as a proper dose. And the third point that is required for the rapid cure is the repetition, that is after selection of the remedy, what should be the next duty of physicians, that is the second prescription. In second prescription, the first duty is he has to repeat the medicine or he has to change the medicine or he has to increase the potency of that medicine, what to do. So this is the third point, that is repetition. What should be the repetition of that medicine. So to achieve the rapid cure, three conditions should be satisfied, that is minimum, minimum dose, and the third repetition. So in this, factor responsible for the repetition of doses. So we studied about minimum, we studied about minimum dose. Now the third point start with a repetition. Then there are factors responsible for the repetition of doses. So repetition of doses depends upon the condition and the progress of the patient. What is the condition and what is the progress of the patient after the selection of remedy or after prescribing the first dose? Then second, nature of the disease. What is the nature of disease? And the third, nature of the remedy. Nature of the disease means as it is a acute disease or it is a chronic disease, what is the nature of that disease? And the third one, that is nature of the remedy, that is as you selected the short acting medicine or as you selected a long acting or a deep acting remedy. So this is the 3 points, that is condition and the progress of the patient, then nature of the disease and nature of the remedy. These are the factors responsible for the repetition of doses. So in this, the first point is condition and the progress of the patient. What is the condition and progress of the patient? So in this, the perceptible and the continued progress of improvement contra indicates repetition. That is perceptible and continued progress of improvement. If patient is towards the state of improvement or he is feeling well, in this the it contraindicates the repetition. So in these cases you do not repeat the medicine, that is these conditions contraindicates the repetition, that is improvement. Then under this condition every new dose of medicine would disturb the progress of amelioration. As patient in a condition of progress and you prescribe or medicine or you repeat the medicine, in that cases it can disturb the action of that medicine or disturb the progress of amelioration. So this is the first point, that is condition and progress of the patient. In this also the cessation of progress is not to be taken as an indication for repetition. That is cessation of progress is not to be taken as an indication for repetition. If cessation of progress is not there, you cannot or it cannot indicate the repetition. That is if the progress is going on, you cannot repeat the medicine. Then the only indication for repetition is the return of the disappeared symptom. So what is the indication for the repetition in a patient? That is the only indication for repetition is the return of the disappeared symptom. That is if the disappeared symptoms reappeared again and again, in that cases this is the indication for the repetition of the medicine. That is old symptoms reappear, for this reason you have to give the repetition of that medicine. So the only indication for repetition is the return of the disappeared symptom. So this is the first point, that is the regarding the condition and the progress of the patient. Now the second point regarding the repetition is that the nature of the disease. So nature of the disease, it may be in acute cases or it may be in chronic cases. So nature of the disease in acute cases, that is explained in aphorism number 247, that is the action of a remedy is known to exhaust early, therefore frequent repetition are indicated. That is if the disease is of acute condition, the action of the remedy is known to exhaust early and therefore frequent repetition are indicated in these cases, acute cases. As the response is obtained for frequency is cut down progressively so that dose tapers gradually. That is, as the response is obtained, the frequency is cut down progressively so that the dose tapers gradually. Then premature cessation of the remedy is known to promote relapse. That is, premature cessation of the remedy is known to promote relapse in acute cases. So may be repeated every 24 hours, 12, 8 or 4 hours also. That is in acute cases you can repeat the medicine at short interval, that is it can be for 24 hours, it can be for 12 hours, it can be for 8 hours, 4 hours, 2 hours, and so also so minimum. Then in most acute cases every hour up to as often and every 5 minutes. You also repeat in acute cases. So in acute diseases, that is nature of the disease, if is nature of disease is acute, in that cases you can repeat the medicine at short interval also. So in nature of disease in chronic cases, so what is the repetition of the dose if you prescribe the medicine for a chronic cases? So in this, the single dose stimulation is the rule. That is, you can prescribe a single dose medicine in a chronic cases, as you use the deep acting or a long acting medicine for a chronic cases. So their progression period is so long, and for this reason you prescribe a single dose at a time in chronic cases. Then multiple dose stimulation on the same day or on a consecutive days should be reserved for the cases in which single dose stimulation has failed. But there are some conditions in chronic cases also where single dose cannot work. For this reason, you can give a multiple dose stimulation on the same day. Means three doses in a one day or a three doses in a consecutive days, that can be also used in a chronic cases. And as soon as adequate response is obtained, further stimulation should be suspended. Means if you obtain a that is adequate response from the patient, the stimulation should be suspended, means the repetition of dose should be stopped. So this can be used in a chronic cases. So this is the second point regarding the repetition of dose, that is nature of disease. So in acute cases you have to repeat frequently, but in chronic cases you cannot repeat frequently, as you are using a long acting or a deep acting or anti-miasmatic remedy in chronic cases. This way also study in aphorisms. That is, in borderline cases, deep acting constitutional remedies like phosphorus does not bear frequent repetition. So there are different medicines like phosphorus which cannot bear a frequent repetition, as it is one of the constitutional remedy or a deep acting remedy. So finally, before changing the potency, multiple dose stimulation should be tried, otherwise a needless aggravation is precipitated. So before changing the potency, you have multiple dose stimulation should be tried. That is, before changing the potency, you have to give the three doses in one day or three doses in consecutive day to avoid the unnecessary aggravation in a chronic cases. So this is regarding the chronic cases, that is nature of disease. Now the third point regarding the repetition is that the nature of the remedy. What is the nature of the remedy? So in this they prescribe as a potency medicine in lower potency, frequent repetition, medicine in higher potency, not frequent repetition. So what is the potency selected of that remedy, that indicates the repetition. If you prescribe a low potency, you can use the frequent repetition, and if you use the higher potency, in that cases not frequently repeated, means in that cases you cannot use the frequent repetition of that remedy. So in this, the second point they consider as a duration of action. What is the duration of action of that remedy? We studying the third point regarding the repetition, that is nature of the remedy. In this, first point is potency, second duration of action of that remedy. So what is the duration of action of that remedy? That is deep acting remedies, medicines from the elements, compounds, minerals and nosodes repeat less frequently. That is, if medicine is deep acting remedy, repeat less frequently. That is, deep acting medicines cannot be repeated frequently. Then second, that is short acting remedies, that is medicines from a vegetable and animal kingdom that can be repeated frequently. If our remedy is from the element group, compound or a mineral or a nosode group, in that cases we cannot repeat that medicine frequently. And if our remedy is from the vegetable or animal kingdom, Yes, can I audible? Yes, can I audible? सुप्रिया आवाज येतो का?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we will discussing the duration of action of a remedy by selecting, that is nature of the remedy regarding the repetition. So in this, the deep acting remedies, that is medicines from element, compound, mineral and no source, repeat less frequently. So these medicines are repeated less frequently. And the short acting remedies, that is medicines from the vegetable and animal kingdom, that can be repeated frequently, that is we call it as the short acting remedies. So the third point, that is medicines having the alternating actions. If no improvement follows, another small dose of the same medicine is prescribed. That is for the medicines having the alternating actions. What is the alternating actions? One symptom alternate with a other symptom or having the alternating actions. So if we using the medicines that having a alternating action, it can be if no improvement follows, another small dose of the same medicine is prescribed. That is, we can alter the medicine in that cases. So this is regarding the repetition of the medicine. So while discussing the repetition of the medicine, first we cover the dose of the medicine. The second point we started with a repetition. So while discussing the repetition of the medicine, there are, or to give the progressive cure or a rapid cure, you require a minimum dose and the repetition. So while considering the repetition, also there are three factors on which the repetition depends. So what are these three factors? First one, that is the condition and progress of the patient. This is the first point on which the repetition is depend. So if there is a progression or improvement in the patient, that contraindicates the repetition, or under this condition every new dose of a medicine would disturb the progress of amelioration. Then in this also, if the cessation of progress is not to be taken as an indication for a repetition, that is, if there is cessation of progress is not there, you cannot indicate it is for the repetition, or the only indication for the repetition is the return of the disappeared symptom. This is the first point, that is condition of the patient. Then we study the second point regarding the repetition, that is the nature of disease. So nature of disease, it can be acute disease or it can be chronic disease. So if the patient is of acute disease, you can repeat the medicine frequently, but the patient is from the chronic disease, you cannot repeat the medicine so frequently in chronic cases. So in this, the single dose stimulation is the rule in chronic cases. So in this also, in borderline cases, deep acting constitutional remedies like phosphorus does not bear the frequent repetition. And finally, before changing the potency, multiple dose stimulation should be tried, otherwise needless aggravation is precipitated. So this is regarding the second point, that is nature of disease. Now the third point, that is nature of the remedy. In nature of the remedy, we discuss the 3 points. First one, potency. Second, duration of action. And the third one, the medicines having the alternating action. If the patient having, that is, if we select the remedy that having a low potency, in that cases the frequent repetitions can be allowed. But if medicine is in higher potency, in that cases there should not be a frequent repetition of that medicine if you use the high potency. Then the second point regarding this, the duration of action of that remedy. So duration of action of that remedy, it can be a deep acting remedies or it can be short acting remedies. So which are the deep acting remedies? Remedies that belongs to the elements, compounds, minerals and the nosode group, that we call it as a deep acting remedy, and these medicine cannot be repeated frequently. These deep acting medicines cannot repeated frequently. Then second one, that is short acting remedies. In short acting remedies we consider the remedies from the vegetable and the animal kingdom, and these medicines can be used repeatedly or we can repeat them frequently. That is short acting remedy. So this is the second point regarding the nature of remedy. And the third point, that is medicines having alternating actions. In this, if improvement follows, another small dose of the same medicine is prescribed. So this is regarding the alternating action of the medicines. That is, one medicine having alternates action with a other medicine. In that cases, you can use the, if there is no improvement, you can use the second remedy that is most similar to that previous remedy. So this is the medicines having the alternating action. So these are the different points regarding the repetition of the remedy. So all of you understand regarding the dose and the repetition of the remedy, or any difficulty regarding this dose and repetition? Yes, all of you understand.
Yes, ma'am.
So we will shift towards the next point, the potency. So first you tell me about the potency that we covered in a previous class also. So what are the different criteria that we use for the selection of potency? Anyone can tell what we studied in previous class? Yes, Asmita. Asmita.
Ma'am, if it is acute disease, then potency we prescribe is higher, and if it's a chronic long-term disease, then the potency give a lower, low potency.
In previous class, which are different points we studied? 5 points regarding the selection of potency of a drug. All you not studying properly, only attending lectures. शिकवलेलं कळतंय ना, मग सांगायला काय प्रॉब्लेम आहे? कितीदा रिपीट केलं मी ते? कुठले 5 पॉइंट्स आहेत?
Ma'am,
Yes.
susceptibility of the patient, nature and intensity of the disease,
Yes.
any previous treatment of the disease, seat of the disease. Age the patient.
In this, the susceptibility of the patient. In this, what are the different factors that modify the susceptibility? In yesterday's lecture, I send you only a 20 minutes recording. That link I shared yesterday. I think no one can listen this. For this reason, I again repeat in the same class what we studied in a previous class. Why you are not studying? Yes, why you are not studying or not understanding? Junior batch giving the answers very nicely in every lecture. I ask them question for a 15 minutes, last 15 minutes every day, and they give the answers very nicely. And I can't ask you any questions since 15 days. Yes, any problem regarding the study? So today we will stop here with dose and repetition. And in next class we will study the potency. But before starting the potency, all of you have to give the answers regarding the dose, repetition and potency what we covered in a previous class. Then we start with the next topic. Is it clear? Yes, all of you listening me?
Yes, ma'am.